Hello and welcome to Then and Now, where I, AJ the Comic Archivist, compares the very first issue of a property to the latest #1 in that same franchise. Think of it as old versus new, except a bit more wordy. The first one was on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and then a year later I did Lois Lane #1, which was surprisingly well received despite the latest Lois Lane dealing with some very political issues. So by fan demand, like 3 people going, "Oh man, you should totally do more of these," a poll on my Twitter, and my producer saying that the views were good on it, so cancel ComicSins and do another Then and Now. And here we are, covering one of my favorite teams that no one talks about, and one of my favorite current DC books. So, the year is 1983, the last couple of years of the Bronze Age of comics. DC buys out the rights to Charlton comic characters, Jason Todd debuts as Robin, and after 200 issues, Brave and the Bold finally wraps up. While I will eventually get to covering that whole series, the important thing here is that last issue was the very first appearance of the Batman and the Outsiders. It's a preview story, and it is fairly good, but it does take place after the team officially gets together, so chronologically it's like issue 3 and 4. Now, I can't find any confirmation, but I'd assume that since the first Batman and the Outsiders issue came out the following month in place of The Brave and the Bold, plus this preview tale not taken from the comics proper, Batman and the Outsiders was meant as a replacement, similar to how the Thing solo series replaced Marvel's 2-in-1 the previous month. Unless Brave and the Bold got a lot darker than what I've read, this may just be jarring to some readers. Anyways, August 1983, Mike J. Barr's teen book Batman and the Outsiders debuts. We'll get into it more, but it was definitely a hit. The first volume spanned 46 issues, with 2 specials and a few guest spots in other books. They would lose Batman along the way, shift some members, and honestly, since I am going to be doing a reader's history on the team, I'm just going to bring up that they were active more or less continuously until the New 52. Though my personal favorite version of this team was when Nightwing recreated this team as an answer to not wanting a family team like the Teen Titans had become, after being screwed over emotionally, and then the awkwardness of when Batman took over the team again. It's why the Outsiders has always been one of my favorite teams consecutively more than any other group. Fast forward to the Dark Knights event, which was generally one of the many DC Rebirth initiatives that righted a lot of the wrongs done by the New 52. I'll leave it at that since there is a lot to unpack in the Dark Knights Metal event, and I'll eventually get to a reader's history of it. Point is, in the prelude to that event, Dark Days the Forge, Bats creates a new Outsiders team to aid in his investigation into Nth Metal. Unrelated, at least so far, Geoforce created his own version of the Outsiders during the Doomsday Clock storyline. Yeah, another reader history, especially with Watchmen happening soon on HBO. The most immediate story, though, is in Detective Comics number 983 to 987, where Black Lightning teams up with the Bat family after one hell of an epic storyline with Karma and the Gotham Knights. After that, though, Batman has Black Lightning form a new Outsiders crew, and in July 2019, the latest team book officially debuted. For the sake of my sanity, we'll be calling the original Batman and the Outsiders the OG, and the latest version the New Hotness. Now then, let's start with what we always start on this show, the story. Before I say anything, I would like to say that I do have this book, and this is one of the very few covers that I can distinctively say made me want to read comics. I mean, come on, Batman is literally telling the Justice League, that he's leaving them to make his own team, with blackjack and hookers. Fun fact, I also always thought this comic was a lot older for the longest time, solely because of how Silver Age of this cover was to me. Boy, does the curtain not match the carpets on this one. The story opens with a quote from John Keats, which apparently was, at least in my research of reading the box next to it, the inspiration to this book. It's a pretty heavy quote, so naturally the story proper starts with the now cliched joke about a superhero saying they have a date with someone and it's actually a criminal. Wah, wah, wah. Well, the more important thing here, though, is that we actually get a solid foundation that Batman is wearing himself thin over the next couple of days because he botched that previous bust. That's when Bats finds out that Lucius Fox, yes, that Lucius Fox, was taken hostage in the midst of a revolution in Markovia, a country between France and Luxembourg, though I think it migrated further to be somewhere more Eastern European, like near Bulgaria and the Ukraine eventually. Having taken all the official channels and failing, Batman decides to go to the Justice League for help. However, that is a very big dead end since Superman gave his word that no leaguer would interfere in this civil war. So the natural response is that Batman resigns after a hearty recap of his origin story and leaves. Meanwhile, Princes Gregor and Brion It is spelled kind of Brian, but every time I've seen it said, it is said Brian. Markov holds their father's hand as he dies, making Gregor king of Markovia, and both of them having to swear to find their sister Tara. Anyone in Teen Titans knows who she is. But Brian then leaves with a scientist saying that she can totally help heal Markovia and end the revolution. With science, of course! Meanwhile, someone else is asking around for Dr. Jace, the scientist Brian left with earlier. Meanwhile, someone else turns himself over to the revolutionaries to be taken to their leader. Yes, it's really easy to know that this guy is Black Lightning, isn't it? The other guy was Metamorpho, just a heads up. Yep, this is already the start of Batman's plan, as Jefferson Pierce, Black Lightning, is here to pretend to be Lucius's brother to find out where he is. But as Jefferson talks to the general, an assassin stabs the general through the tent. But who could? Yeah, okay, it's Katana. She's on the cover, and she's very stab-happy. She gets away, but Jefferson is knocked out, taken prisoner. So Batman is mad, but apparently he didn't notice the unconscious woman next to him this whole time. She wakes up blasting bats before passing out, not used to using her new powers. Elsewhere, Brion is being zapped with a science beam that gives him superpowers. Good thing, too, because that's when the Revolutionary Army breaks in, and he's able to test his powers before being incapacitated. But Metamorpho hears the uproar and comes to lend a hand, but then he gets shot and falls apart. To quicken this part up, Batman then gets captured by the patrol, leaving Halo, the girl from before, alone. So now Bat, Black Lightning, and Metamorpho are thrown into the same cell as Lucius, so there's kind of a silver lining, they did find him. And then Baron Bedlam reveals himself. Well, by that I mean he walks through the door to end the issue. Oh, there's a lot to unpack there, so quickly to the new hotness. This is a very beautiful cover, but I really do wish they just had a variant that paid homage to the original. No, that doesn't actually hurt the book itself, I just wish it in kind of a way. So let's get into the story. The cold open has a man and his daughter, Sophia, attacked by what can only be a shiny version of a monitor. Her dad gets ghosted, but when he tries to do the same to Sophia, nothing happens. So naturally, he chucks her into a flaming wreck of a fuel tanker. However, Sophia decides to just walk off that whole immolation thing. Over in Gotham, we get introduced to the Outsiders proper, as Signal and Orphan, that's Duke Thomas and Cassandra Cain for those uninitiated, are pinned down by a mad gunman named St. John. Black Lightning comes down and zaps him, and Katana Arya Starks into the frame to cut the dude's minigun in half. With St. John defeated relatively easier, there's a lot of group dynamics just pushed to the forefront here. But it is a very solid moment that leads to later, where Jefferson is talking with Bruce Wayne about the team and their faults. The bigger question is asked, though. Why does Bruce want Jefferson to lead the team? Bruce does give an answer, though maybe one that doesn't help Jefferson, but really does resonate with audiences, before leaving. In the Batcave, Bats is investigating the death of Gabriel Ramos and his now missing daughter, Sophia. Over with Katana, Jefferson has come over to seek her wisdom, still unsure of himself. So they duel while they talk things out. With new insight, Jefferson leaves. However, after he leaves, Tatsu's blade cries out, and the spirit of her husband grows silent. To get even heavier, Cass and Duke are out joyriding, when Duke has a panic attack because of the battle with Karma from the Detective Comics story I mentioned. Of course, that gets interrupted by a call from Batman. Batman gives us in The Outsiders the history of the Ramos family, basically a family he saved from the whole rich folk who want to make their own metahumans, which we did kind of see in the original Outsiders and a lot of the time in the DC universe. So, with the death of Gabriel, Batman is going to follow up on his Markovian black market leads, while the Outsiders' job is to find Sophia. The issue ends with Sophia being found by a man named Caliber, who I'm not sure is supposed to be one of the new gods, and the main villain is name-dropped. Ra's al Ghul. Dun dun dun! Now, both of these books are great in their own way. The OG really explains why Batman is creating his own task force, for lack of a better term, without it becoming something along the lines of X-Force, a Wetworks team. This is a team that holds Batman's ideology that justice outweighs the law, more so than the Justice League's, which was more, let's uphold the law. There are some great action beats here, the character introductions are great, and it's top-notch to get you invested to check out issue 2. The new hotness, though, is a wholly different beast. This is definitely a sequel or spin-off of the Detective Comics story, which I actually hadn't read as of making this video, and I honestly don't think I want to. The story sets up the aftermath of Karma's curb-stopping the Bat family, and seeing how that affects everyone really makes it even more impactful not knowing what truly happened. Even more than that, though, the character dynamics drive this story. The point does go to the new hotness with a little asterisk. That asterisk is that the reason this wins on story front is not because of the plot itself, but because of the next category. The characters. The OG does have some great characterization. It really is kind of hard to screw up showing Batman's dedication to justice and what's right over the law or boundaries when it's him yelling at Superman and Wonder Woman. The other characters, though, are generally just introduced to be fleshed out better later, with Brion Markov probably getting the second most development, which isn't much, honestly. The new hotness, however, is all about these characters. Batman does show up 2 major times in this. The first is him as Bruce Wayne talking to Jefferson about why the team exists. This scene is probably my favorite in the whole thing because it truly exemplifies Jefferson not fitting the standard mold of a Bat family member, and Bruce all but telling him directly that that's why he's chosen him to lead the new team. There's this unspoken air about this whole back and forth that shows that Bruce is actually not alright after the karma curb stomp, while Jefferson almost comes off like he has the mindset that Batman is actually some god who just doesn't feel emotion. It speaks about who Batman is as it does to why Jefferson was chosen to lead the team, and maybe repair the damage that being involved with Batman has caused everyone on the team. Now, that isn't to say that Duke having PTSD isn't also really a great character thing. Signal is a newer character, and really, in what I've read of Batman proper, has kind of been needing to reach that graduation level of being Batman's sidekick. So having him get these panic attacks and growing more angry to hide his feelings just works. And everyone gels together so well in this, even if there is friction, that something like Black Lightning and Signal butting heads makes all the more sense and just works. So like I said, the new hotness wins story points because it also wins character points. As they work so well together, it can't be separated. So with that 1-2 combo, do the visuals hold up? The art. Damn it, the new hotness will also win this because Dexter Soy's art and Veronica Gandini's colors are just god tier. Originally, I was going to show off the full page of Batman as he zips off, just to showcase the detail work, the deliberate nature of how the art accentuates the story being told, and how the colors can be dark and yet not muddled because of that darkness. No, instead I wanted to showcase the, air quote, no one cares panels. Avid comic readers should understand what I mean. It's that particular panel that, either because it's a tiny panel or it doesn't need any effort put into it, that it showcases how meh the artist felt when doing it. The problem is that I really couldn't find one here. While there are panels like the one I've been showing that could possibly qualify, simple as it is, it has enough detail and work that it doesn't feel half-assed. Even here with this panel that maybe 1/8 of the page, not even, it doesn't get that treatment. And when the book has that kind of feel to it, where everything is just has an energy, that will translate well to the reader and draw them in even more. Now, that doesn't mean that the OG has any bad art by any means. Jim Aparo's art and Adrian Roy's colors are very much in line with the excellent standard of art at the end of the Bronze Age. Now, to basically give the standard, the Bronze Age has a more detailed version of the simplistic, cartoonish, comic strippy Silver Age style. See my less than an hour on a breakdown of that. But towards the end of the age, the art kept the simple line work, but then began to add to it, to make it more detailed. The expressions would become less over the top and able to showcase a wider range of emotions. This is going to sound weird, but it's basically like the games that come out at the end of a gaming console's life, when they've got everything pushing the max of what they could do on both a hardware and what's going to sell level. It is awesome, with every character having their personality shown through the art, without needing to specifically exaggerate things. It is fantastic art for the time, just as the new hotness is. So yes, in a vacuum, the winner of Then and Now is the new hotness, Batman and the Outsiders #1. It is a fantastic character-driven story that takes both new and old characters and adds just a bit of extra dimension to them by giving the new dynamics of a team without overloading the Batman angle, since Batman is to DC Comics as China is to the global population. And before anyone asks, yes, I typically do have an additional category about legacy or follow-up issues here, but since the Reader's History of the Outsiders is going to be starting relatively soon, I think it'd best be talk about it over there. So that's really the end of this video. If you agree or disagree or just want to give your 2 cents on this issue, leave a comment below. While you're down there, if there's a comic you'd like to see get the Then and Now treatment, let me know. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed what we did, and hit the bell icon because YouTube likes dicking around anyone who isn't a one percenter. We also have a Twitter, a Patreon that currently got gutted, or if you'd like to donate directly for a special video, then contact us at thecomicarchivist@gmail.com. More than anything else, though, I'm the Comic Archivist, and stay golden, Inklings.